My special kiss. Chapter 2. Norah. Worthing, Christmas Day, 1938. And if you care to hear the Swanee River played in ragtime, come on and hear Alexander's Ragtime Band. Humming to the music on the radio, Norah Kirkwood slid the roasting pan back into the oven and closed the door with her hip. The kitchen door squeaked open. "Can I do anything to help?" Norah switched off the radio and turned to grin as her younger sister Renee walked in. "Nearly finished," she said, "but you can help me dish up if you like." Renee took an apron from the hook on the back of the door and came towards her. "Smells good." She was a pretty girl, 22, mousy blonde, and with a cheeky smile. On the other hand, Norah, almost 4 years her senior, had dark hair and a mass of curls, the envy of both her sister and Elsie, their mother. Norah speared the carrots in a pan on the top of the stove. "They're done," she said, leaning back so that Renee could take the pan to the sink and drain it. "What are they all doing in there?" "The usual," said Renee, hot steam billowing around her as she tipped the carrots into a colander. "Dad's looking at yesterday's paper, Jimmy's cracking the nuts, and Mum is listening to old Mrs. Kirkwood's woes." Norah grimaced. "Oh dear, poor Mum." "Honestly, sis," Renee said, "I don't know how you put up with her." "Neither do I," Norah quipped, as she heaved the chicken out of the roasting pan and laid it on the carving plate. "I must be a ruddy saint." As her sister laughed, Norah glanced across to the window. 2 wood pigeons were shouldering each other off the bird table in the garden. Silly things. There was plenty there for all, but there they were squabbling over a few seeds, while their companion on the ground underneath the table was gobbling up everything in sight. Norah smiled. How she loved it here, a bit of the country in the middle of the town. She and her husband Jim came to Worthing when they got married in 1933, and they'd lived in the lilacs ever since. It came with a long garden, which in Victorian times had been converted into a market garden. She planned to continue the work and perhaps expand. The gardening was enjoyable, but it didn't yield enough to be a commercial concern. The space was quite simply too small to give them both a good living, so while Norah carried on with the market garden, Jim stayed in the police force. Renee still lived with their parents and worked in London, where their father was a bus driver. Ambitious, she had been promoted to senior sales girl in a department store, but never one to rest on her laurels. She was also taking night classes in shorthand and typing. Norah set about making the gravy in the empty roasting tin, now resting on the hob, while Renee dished up the homegrown Brussels sprouts and cabbage. They worked together in silence for the next few minutes. Norah put the roast potatoes onto a serving dish and placed the chicken at the head of the table for Jim to carve, while Renee arranged the vegetable dishes before she went to call the rest of the family to the table. She loved this time of year. She had taken over the Christmas celebrations from her mother the year she got married, and it never varied. Pete Carson, her dad, would drive all the way down from London early on Christmas morning, with Mum and Renee in the car and a boot full of presents. This year he had brought their dog, Max, as well. "Mrs. Reynolds next door says she'll feed the budgie," Dad had said as they arrived. "The birdie's quite happy on his own, but I can't leave the dog all day." Renee always complained about the early start, but Dad said that with the Christmas rush over, the traffic was a lot less on the day, and he preferred it that way. As she watched her family assemble around the kitchen table, Norah wondered if this would be the last Christmas they would share. Times were uncertain. Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain had come back in September with the Munich Agreement. But despite the piece of paper on which the British people conceded that the German-speaking Sudetenland was now part of Germany, Talk of war.